So thank you for taking the time to speak to me today, Barbara. Just initially, can you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Barbara Hathaway. I have been the VP of Engineering here at Avaro for a couple of years, and I'm just transferring at the moment into a technology leader role, focusing on leakage solutions.
Thank you very much. So leakage, what do we mean when we talk about leakage?
So water companies will want to understand where their water is used. They will meter people, they will have particular users, they have ways of modelling their expected water usage. Anything that they cannot account for is then called leakage. So if they start to account for some of that water, that then comes off their leakage figures.
So why is this such a big issue?
Well, there's many reasons why this is a big issue. One of them, if you think about simple economics, a water company will treat 1,000 litres of water. If they lose 30% of that through leakage, they are paying to treat this water that just disappears out of the pipes and is of no use to anyone. Treating water, it uses chemicals, it uses energy. Supplying that water uses energy. So naturally, by reducing the leakage, you can reduce your carbon footprint, you can improve your environmental performance. But then the other side to that there is water is scarce. It is a natural resource that we don't have enough of. There's increasing demand from different parts of the world. Some parts of the world are very scarce on water. It's very, very expensive to desalinate water in the Middle East. So you don't want to waste it. As much water as you treat, you want it getting used for the purpose that you treated it for.
Thank you very much. You talk about leakage. So how do you measure leakage?
In the UK, we have very strict targets around leakage that water companies are asked to commit to, and if they don't meet those figures, then they will be fined by a water regulator, Ofwat. Now, to work out your leakage, you can't simply go along and go, well, I think I'm losing about that much. So what water companies have is they have district meter areaing, where they will be measuring the amount of water that goes into it, the amount of water that leaves it. They understand how much people will be using, and overnight they can then look at what they cannot account for, and that becomes their leakage. So it's mainly through looking at the amount of water you are treating and putting into an area and the amount of water that's used in there, and what you're left with is what you're leaking.
Understood. So what goes in, what comes out, what you can't account for, that's your leakage.
Yeah, that's the basic way of getting to your leakage figure, yeah. And obviously you do that, different areas, different demographics of housing will use different amounts of water, cities, rural, you have different types of property that will use different amounts of water. It's basically you measure what goes in, what comes out, what you can't account for, that's then your leakage.
So when you've got these leaks in these areas, how can you detect where they are?
A very good question, and there are several ways of detecting leakage. You can have methods as simple as walking along the street, looking where there's some water. It's coming out the pipe. But if we consider in the UK, all of our water pipes are buried, it's very unlikely that you will be able to find a leak by doing that. There are invasive methods where you can put things into the pipe so you can look to see where there's a leak. It's obviously very expensive to do something like that. So the industry has moved toward listening for leaks. So water in a pipe is pressurized. And if you have a hole in that pipe, the water will escape through it. That's what your leak is. But that water escaping will create a noise. And most leak detection, certainly acoustic leak detection, is based on finding where that noise is. If you find where the noise is, you found your leak. The most basic form of that is something called a listening stick, which is a big stick you put on a fitting and you listen to it. And you might well have seen that on some of the TV kind of documentaries that have been shown about this is the most basic way of finding leaks, and it's a skill. Skilled leakage technicians will be able to put their listening stick on there and say, oh yes, I can tell that is actually a genuine water leak, and it's this type of leak.
Yeah.
It's not always a split pipe. You can have fittings leak, and it may be on a water main, or it may be on a service pipe, because there are service pipes that go to customers' houses. They all make slightly different sounds, and a trained ear can recognise those sounds. But what that can't tell you is exactly where it is. It can tell you there's something around. So we use a technique called cross-correlation. So this is recording the sound along the pipe in 2 locations, and the noise from the leak will travel along the pipe at a consistent speed and be picked up at these sensors at a different time. If you work out the time delay between them, if you understand the speed, you can work out the location of the leak. And again, that's a technique that's been used in the water industry for many years, probably the last 30 years by now. Could be longer than that. So there's not been many changes because it works. But why do you need to change the method of detecting a leak if it is successful and it finds it in the right place for you? Many things have changed over the years in that they've become more user-friendly, the information presented to you, we have more processing power, we now have modems so that we can install things that send data remotely. And I can do it, I can locate a leak sat in front of my computer in the office rather than being on site doing it. So there's many things that have changed over the year, but it's all based on that same idea that the water escaping from the pipe makes a noise. If I find the location of that noise, that's where my leak is.
So is that what the Avaro products are doing? They're sitting on the pipe, listening out for those different sounds?
Yes, yeah. We make quite a large range of products, from manual products that don't contain a modem that you go out with. Our Eureka kit is a leak noise correlator that they have radio transmitters that you attach to the pipe, and then I use a little Android tablet to be able to perform the cross correlation and tell me where the leak is. Yep. Then we have noise loggers that are deployed overnight. So our Enigma lift and shift noise loggers, you deploy them overnight. They record overnight when there is less usage, so there's less background noise. And then I analyze the results on the web, on my computer. And then finally, we have our full remote solution, which is our Enigma 3M that you put on the pipes, and that sends its data via modem. So we have a kind of whole fleet through to a manual, go and do it yourself, something that you leave overnight to do it, and then something that you install permanently.
Understood. And how do these differ when it comes to the different materials of the pipe?
Leakage detection is easier on metal pipes. If you consider noise, a tuning fork is something that will play out a specific note. They are tuned to a specific note. You hit them on something, you put it on there, it vibrates and it sends out that note. And you can help to tune an orchestra on it. You can tune instruments using it. So if you think about a tuning fork, it's metal because it sings. It produces, it vibrates beautifully. If I was to make a tuning fork out of plastic, it wouldn't sing. So what you find is that on plastic pipes, which is what people now install, metal pipes were used until we started using plastic pipes, I think about 70 years ago here in the UK. And everybody thought they would be an excellent solution because they'll never degrade, they'll never leak. It's not quite true. And leakage detection is more difficult on them because the sound doesn't dissipate as well.
Yeah.
But we do have a solution that helps with that, which is that we can use something called a hydrophone sensor, which is installed permanently inside the water network. So that sits in there and picks up the vibrations on the inside of the pipe rather than on the outside. So we find that we can, in plastic pipes, pick up the noise being dissipated from a leak over quite a long area, and that's what you use for plastic pipes, or particularly large diameter pipes.
So is that the sound created as the water goes past or through the hydrophone, rather than the sound created as the water vibrates outside?
No, it's still the sound that is created. So it's the vibrations that are created with the water leaving the pipe. So through that hole in the pipe, but those are then being picked up as vibrations on the sensor sitting within the pipe instead of listening to them externally. So it's picking up the vibrations through the water that are being generated by the leak.
Interesting.
And it has to be said, a lot of people think that the water industry, it's quite simple, water falls out the sky, we drink it, you turn on the tap, it's there. It's way more than that. There's a lot of technology in the water industry. There's a lot of very, very clever techniques that are used to model what happens in our water networks and to help find any problems. So don't just think that it falls out the sky, we can drink it. It's way more exciting and interesting than that.
So what is the future of leak detection?
There's several things. I think that where we are at the moment is that we can accurately locate leaks. We can accurately locate them remotely. Particularly in the UK, we have an aging infrastructure, and the water companies cannot afford to fix every leak. So they want to understand the quality of that leak. Is it a big one? Is it a burst main that's going to cause a problem? How much water am I losing through it? And I think that is the next big thing. It's the next big question to be solved for our customers. How big is my leak? Do I need to fix it now? So helping with that kind of information. Lots in the media at the moment about AI. That's got its place and can be used to help understanding the signature of what different types of leaks are like, and you can train your AI model to be able to then give you a good chance that we know that's a big one, we know that's a small one, we know this is a weeping rat, we know that. So I think that's going to be a big change that will happen. It's already starting to happen, that people are waking up to this, and with the explosion of IoT devices in the last 3, 4, 5 years, there's a lot more data around. Water companies are very data rich now, and they want to use that data to see how they can improve their efficiency. But I think that then kind of moves on to the other thing that is a big thing for us at the moment is our Leak Navigator service. We will help you do your analysis. We've actually been doing this for 25 years now. Why don't we use our skills and help you? So we are providing the service to be able to analyse the data that's received from our remote loggers and then provide that as point of interest information for contractors to follow up and the water company to then be able to do that final stage and fix it. So there's more interest in that kind of service delivery rather than buying a logger and do it yourself. Manage it as a data service and provide the answer to the customer. So that's something that Avara are very heavily involved in as well.
So that's about better targeting rather than trying to brute force the solution.
That's a good way of pushing it, but it's also about ensuring that we're quite skilled at this, so use our skills instead of using us to train your people. So let us have the risk in doing it. We will guarantee to be able to provide this amount of information to this conversion rate, this operability. So let us take that pain for you.
Yeah, so a level more than beyond the technology.
Yeah. So not just providing the technology, but helping you get the best from it.
So if I was excited by the idea of leakage, and it does sound like there's a lot of cool stuff going on, How could I get involved?
Vara, we're always on the lookout for new people, new ideas. I'm particularly kind of interested in innovative ideas. How can we get better efficiency in what we do, or any new ideas? So yeah, I'm keen to talk to anybody who has any ideas they'd like to share with us, and we're always on the lookout for new people,
New ideas, new team members, new problem solvers. We have
Yeah.
most of our jobs, or all of our jobs, on our website. So if there are any skills that people think they fulfill,
Always keen to keep getting new people in with new ideas, because I'm an engineer myself. Engineering constantly moves on, and you need those fresh ideas coming on to be able to continue to innovate. You don't want to get stuck in the same rut.
we don't want to be going back to the listening sticks when we can get the technology to do it for us.
That's it, yes. But we shouldn't forget that these are highly skilled people, and what we're trying to do is to get those skills and mean that people can use them in a more efficient way and not have to spend years gaining those skills.
Excellent. So thank you very much for your time today. It's been enlightening.
No problem. A pleasure always, Greg. Thank you.